Hi, what I have here is a Pringles can and a 3-hex tower kit from LITKO Aero Systems. So it's made out of wood and it's laser cut. I believe it's laser CC. And these are add-on panels, which I got from a different vendor at a later date just to see what they would do for the product. So right now it's missing 6 of these supports down below. So what you get when you get this, because I just ordered a second one, is you get 18 of these struts or supports, and I believe 6 of these little supports that go on the bottom to lift it up. And you get this, three floors, and then the 3 plugs that go in the floors. And what I like about LITKO and some of their other products I also have is that they give you these cast-offs for you to use instead of either recycling them for some other gaming product or just not sending them. And it's something I wouldn't really have thought of because this seems to be a configuration that was intended, but it adds for some options. Then I also got, you'll shortly see, these hex tower base plates, and I got 3 of them. So what I just alluded to that I eventually want is to have 3 hex towers side by side, and what's going to prevent that is the fact that these project outwards, the supports. Up here above, the product does work. Basically, the top part sticks through with these 2 holes, leaving the center hole unfilled, which then can take the next support going up. It does work, so there's no issue with putting them inwards, but then if you want to use the add-on, I think these are called short wall sections, that's not going to attach through these side holes. You can see the mechanism for that. Here's one slot, or well, it's not a slot. It's a rectangular peg. The name's escaping me, whatever you want to call that. Anyways, it goes in the slot, and then there's 2 over here. So I'm going to take these out and build it the right way. I just make quotes with my fingers to have them like this, and we'll just see how it ends up looking. So here's what I was going for. So this one is 3 levels tall, 2, and then 1. And of course I could also break these off and then have 2 level buildings. And this is out of 2 kits. And this is what I was talking about. These can sit here, and I have miniatures sitting on this one. That one just easily fell through, and so on. But you can make a brace on the bottom very easily. Have a little magnet maybe on the top right here, and then whatever brace, and that could just hold it in place. I don't know. Pretty easy. You could have, more inventive people could have a little slide underneath that just turns and supports it. Here's my smokestack ready to be primed, almost. So I took 2 different diameters of pipe. This is half the pipe, and I have a very rough, uneven cut with my handsaw. And there's some paper towel in here used to help space it. There's a tennis ball at the bottom to raise it up. And this is my jury-rigged mechanism for the pipe. Here I have 2 nails, which are probably not even, which it's hard to see because the paper towel is caught on it. Anyways, they stick in here to catch the bottom of the smaller pipe. And this is how I bought it at Lowe's. Even that is not even. And the bottom of this one isn't even. But it rests on the tennis ball. And then I struggled with what to do because there's a gap between these. And it occurred to me, okay, why don't I cut the ring off? Here's the bad ring I did freehand. You can see how uneven it is, and it's also just too large. And then this one, I traced the bottom of the Pringles can on it with my X-Acto knife, not with a marker like a smart person would do. So the best way to do it would be to trace your pattern with a marker and then go back and cut it out instead of trying to cut around the pipe. And that wasn't what I was doing. I was using the pipe like this, because of course the Pringles can fits in the bottom. So we'll see how long I keep this, but for at least for painting it and so on, because it's to display the LITKO piece, I might go back and get rid of the ring and go with a more permanent solution. So here we are with the finished result of the LITKO Aerosystems industrial tower system, and it does look pretty industrial, and I'm very pleased. If you can't tell by my the tone of my voice. So each one of these is 3 inches tall, which is perfect for Warhammer 40K to represent the different levels. And then also a question you might have is how does a figure with a 40mm base go on this? The answer is if you have the Pringles can in, he's going to stick out a little bit, and especially if you have the borders, the railings, then yeah, it looks like he won't fit. So for figures on the 40mm bases or even larger, they're going to have a tough time using the tower correctly. So Dragiri for Dark Age are out, things like that. Otherwise, it's good. And then of course you don't have to have the Pringles can like over here. So there goes that mega knob. What I painted this with, and I know that the video is a little bit dark, was Apple Barrel Laguna, half of that mixed with half of this other paint, which I'm not even really familiar with, Victorian Blue. So that's what I basically dry brushed over a black base coat. From the Cities of Death Manufactorum kit, I have this vent, or exhaust, with a magnet. This is not the magnet, this is a piece of for sale sign, but the magnet is super glued on the other side of it, and then this is plastic cemented together and then trimmed off. So I have then on the other side of this a little magnet, and then it can just clip on and look kind of neat. And then down below here I have this kind of exhaust vent or piping, and what that is from are plastic shelves you can get at Lowe's. I think they're called Blue Hawk. So this is an end piece to a plastic shelf from Lowe's. And then those are just glued onto the sides. And again, I think I've already shown this, but here would be a plain side, and they do snap in. I'm gonna go with double first. They seem pretty frail, I have to say. I haven't broken one yet, and I'll show something else I have broken off this kit, but they're relatively frail. There is, you can see right here, there's a gap. So that's the gap that I refer to on my blog or in my writings. And the nice thing though is, let's say I don't want this one. It's going to take some effort to get it out. Anyways, I can just flip it around and have that on the inside, so that you can have multiple facings on these. Then I want to show what I would call the flip. So, for example, looking at this short one, and again, this is all just from 2 kits and a base. If I wanted to have a bunch of rust on this side and then down below, I could, and then I could have relatively perfect ones when I flip it over. This is one of the few ones I haven't actually painted, and I'm going to. So you can have multiple sides, and where this could get really neat is if you use something like water effects with a green color and have some slime or other stuff. You can just work your way around the plugs, and you could have very quickly, just by flipping it, you could have two different views or two different uses, two different setups. And then what I would call the stack, very easily and very quickly. I'll just use this piece. You can stack them as well without having to go through the business of popping them off. So there's a bunch of versatility here that you can play around with. Again, the sides are extra, and I'm not a big fan of the sides, or at least the pricing on the sides. They're also, as I already said, incredibly thin. So I could snap this very easily in my hand. I'm not going to, because I want to use that part. And then I'm also left over with a few of the plugs, which again, you could do something interesting with these. To get this Pringles can out, it is achievable. I haven't glued anything on the entire tower structure. It will just scrape some of the paint off the sides, and I haven't varnished anything. So I actually have scraped some paint off and had to go back in and then touch it up. The only other thing I really want to hit right now is the other weakness, which I referred to before. And here, from a distance, these look kind of interesting, and it gives me an idea of some kind of cool caution pattern. But it's not caution, it's the wood showing through. So let me find one of these where it is totally broken. This is a pretty mangled one. So the connectors or supports have gotten damaged from my frequent snapping and unsnapping. So I think you can have casualties pretty easily that way.